Hey guys, tonight we slip into sandals made of woven grass, chew on a fistful of bitter coca leaves, and haul ourselves up an absurdly steep mountain trail with only a sling pouch, a sacred string of knots, and the altitude sickness for company. You're about to become a chasqui, a royal courier of the Inca Empire, sworn to carry messages, offerings, and sometimes gossip, all while sprinting through one of the world's most unforgiving terrains. You probably won't survive this, but hey, at least your calves will look amazing. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you're feeling curious or just very awake, comment with your location and the local time. It's always fun to see where the sleepy gang is tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You trudge uphill under a sky so blue it feels fake. The kind of blue that makes you squint even when the sun's behind a cloud. The dirt trail snakes upward between jagged cliffs and terraces, carved like giant staircases, each one green with potatoes, quinoa, and the occasional terrified chicken. Your breath comes short. The air up here is thin and dry, like sipping through a straw poked into the atmosphere's attic. You've been chewing coca leaves since sunrise. They don't taste great, kind of like old spinach mixed with dirt and static electricity, but they take the edge off the altitude. Your tongue tingles. Your feet, bare, blistered, and probably developing a spiritual connection with the road. You're training to be a chasqui, one of the royal messengers who kept the sprawling Inca Empire stitched together long before emails, horses, or even the wheel. Your job? Run. Just run. From tambo to tambo, those little stone relay huts spaced every 6 to 9 miles across a network of roads that stretch over 25,000 miles, from icy peaks to steaming jungle. You're the living, breathing postal service, with really sore calves. As you climb higher, you pass a group of farmers tending llamas. One of the older men squints at you and mutters something under his breath. You catch the word lipta. That's the ash paste you use with coca. You smile politely and try not to trip on a rock the size of a guinea pig, which, by the way, you'll probably be eating for dinner. A condor circles overhead. Big one. You imagine it swooping down, plucking you off the trail, and delivering you directly to Cusco like a very dramatic Amazon Prime drone. The trail narrows as it wraps around a cliffside. You lean into the stone, the wind pressing against your back like a half-serious threat. There are no guardrails here. The Inca didn't believe in them. Maybe they just trusted the road, or maybe they liked living dangerously. Either way, your toes cling to the edge like desperate little spiders. Eventually, you reach a small plateau where a tambo sits, squat and square, and built from stone so tightly packed you couldn't wedge a coin between the blocks. You've heard the old rumor that the Incas softened stone with magic plants. Historians still argue whether they used heat, friction, or just a lot of grunting and teamwork. But the result? A hut so perfect, it makes modern concrete look lazy. Inside, you collapse onto a llama hide mat and let your body buzz. You've made it to checkpoint 1. Tomorrow, you start the real thing. By now, you've learned the rules. Chasquis run in pairs or small teams. You carry messages, usually oral but sometimes written in quipus, those braided cords with knots in strategic places. It's part math, part language, part art project. Historians know they tracked census data and tribute, but some argue they held poetry or even whole stories. No one agrees. And the last people who really understood them were silenced when the Spanish burned the libraries. Outside, the sun dips behind a ridge, turning the mountains purple and gold. Your training master, a leathery man with legs like braided rope, whistles for you. You groan, stand up, and limp outside. More running. He hands you a pebble and says, "This is your breath." You nod, confused but respectful. Okay." He grins. "Keep it in your mouth. If you swallow it, you're going too hard." You nod again, pop the rock into your cheek, and start jogging. You taste dust and stone and realize, weirdly, that it helps. You're pacing yourself now. The pebble makes sure of that. By the time you return, the stars are out, and your thighs feel like boiled corn. You eat a bowl of chuño, freeze-dried potatoes that squeak between your teeth, and crawl into your woven blanket. Sleep comes hard, curled up against the mountain's heartbeat. You dream of messages, feathers, and roads that never end. You wake at midnight to the sound of a flute echoing across the valley. Probably a herder or a ghost. You're too tired to care. You roll over and whisper the message you've memorized again and again in your head. The Sapa Inca sends blessings. The maize grows. Tribute must be ready by the next moon, simple enough. But important. Everything the Chaskies carry is important. The empire runs on your feet. In the quiet, you wonder how many feet have hit this trail before you. How many runners, how many stories, how many desperate words passed hand to hand across mountains and jungle, held tight in a pouch or a mouth or a memory. You're part of that now. Part of a road older than maps. Somewhere in the darkness, a puma cries. You pull your blanket tighter. Tomorrow, the run begins for real. You rise before the sun, before even the llamas grunt awake, before the mountains shed their blue shadows. It's cold. Not grab-a-jacket cold, but your fingertips feel betrayed cold. Your breath fogs out in slow, reluctant puffs as you stand at the trail's edge, legs still sore from yesterday, but already twitching with anticipation. Today, you become a real Chasqui, not just a runner in training, not a pebble-mouther or potato smasher, a true courier of the Sapa Inca, with the morning sky on your shoulders and a sacred message in your chest. Your training master hands you a pouch. It's simple, rough-woven, and shockingly heavy for something no bigger than a squirrel. You don't ask what's inside. You don't need to. That's not your job. You're not a reader. You're not a priest. You're not a soldier. You're just the legs. The sun crests the ridgeline and bathes the stone trail in molten orange. You squint into it, breathe deep, and begin to run. You follow the same trail as yesterday, but this time your stride feels sharper, more deliberate. Your feet find the edges, the ridges, the familiar trick stones you dodged before. You're not galloping. You're flowing. Chaskies don't sprint, not until the handoff. You hold a rhythm, like a drum beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It's weirdly musical. And in your head, it echoes louder than the wind. Every so often, you pass a stone marker, little more than a carved nub tucked into the dirt. You touch each one as you pass. For luck, for timing, for tradition. No one told you to do this. But the others do it, and you've learned to copy the signs of those who've survived longer. As the trail curves down into a narrow canyon, you hear water, cold, fast, chatty, a glacial stream. You drop to one knee, splash your face, sip from cupped hands. It burns in your throat, but clears your brain like eucalyptus. A few minutes later, you crest a rise and see it, a tambo. It's quiet, low, and smoke curls from its chimney. There's a figure waiting, another Chasqui, your relay partner. This is the first time you'll pass a message in motion. You lock eyes from a distance. You raise your arm. They nod. You increase speed. Here's the trick. The last quarter mile, you go all out. It's an explosion of limbs and breath. You hit the stones harder. Your pouch thumps against your chest. Your lungs revolt. The air shrinks, but the message cannot stop. Just before the tambo, you slap the pouch into the next Chasqui's open palm. Not a word is said. He turns and runs, like wind catching a flag. You stumble into the tambo and collapse. Your mouth tastes like dust and panic. But your job? Done. For now. Inside, the fire is low but warm. An old woman hands you a bowl of toasted maize. The kernels pop gently between your teeth like memories of festivals. You let the heat seep into your bones. First run? She asks, amused. You nod. Yes. She nods back. then mutters something about how the last runner threw up on her shoes. You try not to repeat history. By mid-morning, you're back on your feet. Chaskis don't rest long. The Empire doesn't wait. A new message has arrived, this time verbal. You memorize the words, repeating them over and over in your head like a chant. The lake people agree. 20 bundles of reeds will be sent, 3 goats, not 4. No more delays. The phrasing is weird, a little passive-aggressive. You assume someone in Cusco will read it and raise a royal eyebrow. As you set out again, you think about how this job really works. The Inca road system wasn't just paths. It was a living, breathing mechanism. Runners, messengers, supply depots, surveillance outposts, even restocking stations with spare sandals. No horses, no wheels, just people like you, always in motion, always memorizing and running and hoping the message survived the mountains. And somehow, it worked. Messages moved faster across this empire than across many parts of Europe at the time. Historians still marvel at the efficiency. Some think the tambos were spaced based on human lung capacity. Others think it was astrology. Historians still argue whether the relay timing was synchronized by sun, whistle, or just pure chaos. Around noon, you climb again, this time into a pass where the wind never really stops. Your teeth chatter and your ears ache. You chew coca again, letting the bitterness distract you from your own heartbeat. The message keeps looping in your head. Reeds, goats, no delays. Suddenly, a sound. Footsteps, another Chasqui. Not one you know. He's coming fast, breathing hard, his face pinched in worry. Road ahead, mudslide, he gasps. Take the ridge trail instead. It's longer, but stable. You thank him. Then you start climbing again, this time steeper, this time slower, this time doubting the sanity of anyone who ever thought building a postal system across literal death cliffs was a good idea. But hey, your calves are killing it. By dusk, you reach another tambo. This one is quieter, more remote. The air is thinner. The stars arrive early. You pass your message and drop to the floor, limbs shaking, face flushed. Someone's boiling chunyo stew nearby. It smells like smoke and something that probably used to be alive. You eat, sleep, dream. Tomorrow, the pouch will find someone else, but you'll still be running. And somewhere behind you, or ahead, another Chasqui is whispering the same lines into the wind. Reeds, goats, no delays. Your feet hit the trail again before your eyes are fully open. A few minutes to splash some water on your face, cram a handful of cold maize into your mouth, and you're off. Another morning, another message. But today, instead of a pouch or a memorized phrase, they hand you a loop of knotted cords, a quipu. It looks like something your cousin might make during arts and crafts, if your cousin had a secret obsession with binary data, cryptography, and advanced empire-wide census systems. The strings vary in color, thickness, twist, and material. Some are dyed red, some blue, others still holding the natural beige of alpaca wool. Knots, some tight, some loose, some with little bulging buds, march along each string like silent letters from a language you're only beginning to understand. You hold it in your hands like it's a living thing, which, honestly, it sort of is. The quipu system is ancient, even to you. It predates your empire's height, possibly older than your grandparents' grandparents. Historians still argue whether it was strictly numerical or also held syllables, names, and ideas. What's certain is that the Chasqui isn't supposed to read it. That's the job of the quipu kamayuk, the knot readers. You just carry it, like a USB stick with legs. Still, you can't help but be curious. You dangle the strings in front of you and gently run your fingers along the knots. One string is unusually thick and has a faint smell. Herbs? Blood? You decide it's best not to ask. You tuck it carefully into your pouch and begin your run. The trail today is flatter, at least for the first few miles. You get into a rhythm again. Step, breath, repeat. The air is warming up. Your legs are looser. You start to enjoy it just a little. As you jog along, you pass a stretch of road built on polished stone, slick but stunning. This was part of the Capac Ñan, the Royal Road. It runs from the mountains of Ecuador to the deserts of Chile, stitched together with ingenuity and an absurd number of laborers. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands of workers carved it, smoothed it, leveled it, sometimes even paved it with river stones carried on backs. No animals helped build these roads, just hands, and willpower, and a deep belief that the Inca needed a superhighway. A hawk cries above. You glance up just as your foot slips. Whoa, almost ate it. You grab onto a rock to steady yourself. Nice save. Not your most graceful moment, but hey, no one saw. You pause at a lookout. Below you, terraces spiral around a steep hill like ancient fingerprints pressed into the earth. Somewhere down there, farmers are probably tending quinoa, muttering about taxes. You wonder if any of their crops are destined for Cusco, and whether your quipu holds that tribute tally. Back on the trail, you find yourself thinking about the weirdest part of this whole system. It worked. Better than it had any right to. The Inca didn't use writing, no alphabet, no clay tablets, and yet they moved information. Fast. An order from the emperor in Cusco could reach the far corners of the empire in a matter of days. Some say 2 runners could cover over 240 kilometers in 24 hours using the relay system. That's faster than most horseback messengers in medieval Europe, and your people didn't even have horses yet, so you run. Around noon, you reach another tambo. This one's busier, multiple chaskis, lots of pouches, and a single, older Quipu Kamayuk hunched over a bundle of strings, muttering to himself. You watch him work. His fingers dance over the knots with the confidence of someone who's spent decades decoding these woolen puzzles. You approach quietly, hoping not to interrupt. He looks up, notices the quipu peeking from your pouch, and gestures. You kneel, hold it out like a sacred offering. He lifts it with surprising gentleness, examines the structure, counts the strands, nods. Then he lets out a soft, and pulls a small spindle from his robe. He spins out another thread, purple this time, and ties a short, specific knot sequence onto one of the lower cords. Then he hands it back. There, he says. Now it's urgent. You nod, unsure what that means, but grateful anyway. As you jog out of the tambo, you picture this quipu arriving at its final destination, someone decoding it, realizing they need to move soldiers, or grain, or cancel a ceremony, and it all started with your footsteps. You think of stories passed down about special quipus that told the future, or contained songs only certain priests could hear. One tale even says a quipu once sang aloud when a ruler died, the knots untying themselves at midnight. You shake the thought away. Too many coca leaves. Probably. Evening falls. The trail rises again, this time along a ridge with sheer drops on either side. The wind howls in your ears like an angry ancestor. You duck your head, pace steady, quipu safe. By the time you reach the next station, your legs are jelly and your eyes are blurred with dust. You hand off the quipu, receive a blank nod, and drop to your knees. The fire crackles. Someone hands you thick maize soup with something chewy in it. You don't ask. As you drift off to sleep under a thin blanket, you dream of knots that move, strings that glow, messages carried on the wind. You wonder what message your life would leave behind, if someone ever knotted it into a string. You wake up to the sharp taste of thin air and the overwhelming feeling that you've become one with your blanket. Your legs are still asleep, your mouth tastes like leftover stew, and a beetle has decided to share your sleeping mat. Classic Chasqui problems. Today, the Royal Road calls. You step outside and look up. There it is. The Capac Ñan, the great Inca road, snaking through the mountains like a vein of stone. It glimmers slightly under the early morning frost, cutting a perfect line through chaos. No curves for the sake of curves, just pure, royal geometry, laid down across an empire that refused to accept impossible as an answer. You start running again, feet slapping stone that's been polished by centuries of footsteps. Priests, warriors, farmers, messengers like you. It's easy to forget, with the mountains towering on either side, that this road stretches more than 25,000 miles in total. A cosmic-scale spiderweb of paths winding through deserts, jungles, volcano slopes, and glaciers, and all without the use of wheels, or iron, or mortar. The road was made with nothing but stone, gravity, and human obsession. You pass a carved mile marker, a niche shrine with a tiny dried flower in it, an offering from another runner, or maybe a lonely farmer hoping for good weather. Either way, it smells faintly of burnt sage. Your lungs start burning by mile 5. That's normal. You're ascending again, and up here, you're playing chess with the gods. The Kapak Nyan doesn't always care about your knees. If there's a cliff in the way, the engineers went over it. If there's a gorge, they built a bridge. If there's a volcano, they politely ignored it and continued on schedule. What's most amazing is how straight some sections are. Arrow straight for miles, even across absurdly complex terrain. Historians still argue whether the engineers used astronomy, spirit lines, or just incredibly good eyesight. Some even think parts of the road align with solstice markers or sacred mountain peaks. All you know is, when you're running it, it feels like it was made by someone who wanted every step to count. You stop briefly at a tambo, a simple one, tucked into a notch of the mountain. A man is drying coca leaves in a basket. He grunts hello, and you nod back, trading a strip of dried fish for a hunk of sweet potato. It's warm from the sun and tastes like comfort. As you rest, your eyes drift across the trail ahead. It clings to the side of a ridge like a stubborn line of ants, disappearing around a bluff that looks way too vertical. But that's the way. Always forward. You remember the story of one of the emperor's messengers who supposedly ran from Cusco to the coast and back in under a week. It sounds impossible, except that the relay system made it doable. Runners like you, stationed every few miles, resting, ready, waiting, one after another, like flickering candles lighting a corridor of empire. As you begin again, you pass an elderly woman with a basket strapped to her back, picking herbs along the road. She offers you a leaf, munya, good for altitude sickness. You thank her, tuck it into your pouch, and press on. You start noticing the tambo architecture more now. Each rest station along this road is a small marvel. Stone walls that laugh in the face of earthquakes, windows angled to catch the sun just so, floors sloped for drainage. The doorways are trapezoids, always. Maybe because it looks cool, maybe because it works, maybe both. Inside, there's often a fire pit, a llama hair blanket, sometimes a clay pot half full of chicha, fermented corn beer. You don't drink it while running, obviously, unless you want to trip into eternity. But it smells kind of nice, like home. Back on the road, your legs go automatic. You start to notice other things, the way moss creeps between the stones, the way birds dart overhead like messengers of their own. You wonder what it's like to fly over these roads, to see the full empire stretched out like a map. But you're down here, step by step, heartbeat by heartbeat. Then it happens. Your favorite part of any run, that weird, fleeting moment when the exhaustion vanishes. Just gone. Your body warms up, your breathing sinks, and suddenly you feel like you could run forever. You probably can't, of course, but for these few precious minutes, you believe the road is yours. You round a bend and find another runner waiting. He's younger than you, looks nervous. "Where are you coming from?" he asks. "Last Tambo," you reply. 10 miles. "Anything good in the pouch?" You smirk. "Wouldn't you like to know?" He laughs, and for a second, it feels like you're not two dusty blurs on a desolate trail, but something more. Like little dots holding up an entire civilization. You pass him the pouch, and he nods. His turn now. You watch him vanish down the trail. You sit on a boulder, sweat cooling fast. The royal road stretches ahead and behind you, both familiar and unknowable. You think of future generations. Maybe they'll still walk this path. Maybe they'll wonder what you were thinking, what you carried, what mattered. Maybe the road remembers everything. Even now, you swear you hear it whisper under your feet. You're not alone on the road. You never are. Even if it seems like you're the only human silhouette clinging to a cliffside trail, there's always company. And right now, your companions are 4 llamas. 1 tan, 1 jet black, 1 with what appears to be a mohawk, and 1 who keeps looking at you like it knows your deepest secret. These are your assigned pack animals for the next leg. No one really owns a royal llama. They're more like co-workers who spit on you and don't respect boundaries. But they can carry loads of grain, dried meat, feathers, textiles, even ceremonial items too sacred to be jostled on a human's back. Today, they're carrying woven sacks marked with red thread, a color that usually means tribute or high-priority goods. You don't ask, you just lead. Your feet are sore, but llamas don't care. They move with that smug confidence of creatures who've adapted perfectly to high altitudes. You watch their strange sideways gait, their fuzzy legs, their unsettlingly judgmental expressions. The black one, especially, seems to have it out for you. You name him Emperor. As you lead them along a narrow switchback, you remember a tale told at the last tambo. Something about a group of rebellious llamas who once refused to climb further during a royal inspection tour. The story ends with the emperor carrying his own backpack in silent shame. Probably not true. But every Inca child grows up hearing it. The terrain shifts subtly. You're descending now into slightly warmer air. The trail is littered with loose stones and the occasional bloom of highland flowers, bright pink, clinging to the earth like they're afraid of being pulled into the sky. You brush one with your hand as you pass, and it leaves a faint dusting of yellow pollen on your skin. The llamas pause for a moment near a tiny stream. You let them drink. You crouch down too, splash water on your face, and offer Emperor a nod. He chews a mouthful of grass with the deliberateness of someone pretending he's too important for this job. It's said that llamas were sacred to the Inca, not in the divine lightning bolt-wielding way, but in the essential everyday life way. Their wool clothed you. Their meat fed you. Their dung fertilized your fields. Their presence on the roads meant commerce, ritual, diplomacy. They weren't just animals. They were a system. You pass another marker stone, and suddenly the road widens into a platform, flat, deliberate, maybe even ceremonial. You recognize the faint stone impressions of a resting station, but there's no structure, just foundations. Some tambos fell out of use and were abandoned. Others were taken apart to build temples, houses, or more tambos. The llamas sniff around. You find a dry patch, chew a bit of jerky, and let your eyes close for just a minute. The breeze carries the sound of distant flute music. Or maybe it's just the wind through the cracks. You wake with a jolt as something cold and wet brushes your face. It's Emperor. He licked you. You swear softly under your breath and start moving again. The road here is rougher, broken in places, but the pattern remains. Perfectly cut stone alternating with packed earth, like someone built the trail out of memory and logic. Historians still argue whether the road was designed all at once or evolved organically. Some say there was a master blueprint hidden in Cusco, lost when the Spaniards arrived. Others believe the road was mapped by stargazers, each path a line drawn between sacred sites, called huacas. Whatever the truth, one thing is clear. The Inca weren't just builders, they were planners. The sun dips behind the peaks, and long shadows stretch across the trail. Time to rest. You find a real tambo this time, roof intact, walls warm from the day's sun. You herd the llamas into a corral and tie them loosely. They hum, yes hum, when content, a low vibration like a furry didgeridoo. Inside, You find another runner already there. She's sharpening a bone needle and waves you in. You trade snacks and stories. She's been running the coastal routes, which she swears are flatter but full of biting insects with vendettas. You laugh and show her your feet, which are blistered like a boiled potato. She counters by showing you her shoulder, scratched from a condor dive. "He thought I had meat," she says. "I only had beans." You like her. As you prepare to sleep, you glance at the pouch the llamas delivered. The red thread seems brighter now in the firelight. You wonder again what's inside. You imagine strange offerings, golden corn, sacred feathers, or maybe just a really important shopping list. One legend says the Sapa Inca once sent a single coca leaf to a distant shrine, claiming it held the soul of a mountain. Another story insists a Chasqui once carried a parrot across the empire, taught to speak 3 phrases in Quechua, Aymara, and Spanish. No one knows what happened to the bird. You fall asleep with that thought. The idea that you and Emperor and a talking parrot could someday be history's weirdest relay team. The wind howls a little harder outside. The llamas grumble softly in their sleep. And far below, the road winds on. The sun doesn't rise so much as ooze over the horizon, lazy, reluctant, and kind of judging your life choices. You wake to llama breath in your face, a damp blanket, and a stiff neck, courtesy of the Tambo's stone floor. The runner from the coast is already gone, like a ghost with a deadline. Only a few crumbs remain where her maize cake used to be. You stretch, wince, and kick Emperor gently on the flank. He grunts, but gets up. Today, you're not running with llamas. Today, you're just carrying your own body, your own breath, and the knowledge that your next stop is a true architectural gem. A tambo built so precisely, so impossibly tight in its stonework that even time can't squeeze in. You hit the trail, feet finding the rhythm again, even if the knees would prefer a short coma. The path winds through highland scrub, clusters of low purple flowers, and the occasional startled chinchilla darting into a rock crevice. You pause only once, to tie your sandal with a sliver of alpaca cord and admire the endless drop to your left. As you climb, the tambo appears, nested into the cliffside like it grew there, born of the mountain itself. It's not large, but it's perfect. The stone blocks fit together without mortar. No gaps, no wobble, no oops. You've been told these joints are earthquake-proof, that the very shape of the trapezoidal doors and windows disperses energy during a quake. You don't know if that's true, but standing here, you feel something eternal. You step through the doorway, ducking slightly because Inca architects didn't care about your personal head height. Inside, it's cool and dark. A single square window frames the view like a painting, layers of hills rolling down to a silver thread of river. You run your hand along the wall. It's smooth, almost polished, and cold, like logic. Each block was carved elsewhere, hauled up who knows how many miles, and locked into place without cranes or iron tools. Just ropes, wooden levers, and a workforce that, according to some, was powered by music and coca. Historians still argue how they did it. Some swear there was a special kind of plant juice that softened stone. Others suggest they used massive stone balls to grind the blocks into shape. One guy wrote that the stones were vibrated into place using sound, basically ancient Inca dubstep. No one agrees, but everyone agrees it's ridiculous. You find a small niche in the wall with a worn clay cup inside, probably ceremonial. You imagine a Chasqui like you, 200 years ago, pausing here, drinking the same sour maize beer, cursing the same hills. Maybe they also had a llama named Emperor. You exit the tambo and find a marker stone nearby, inscribed with a spiral, possibly symbolic of the sun or time or bureaucracy. The Incas loved symbolism. The spiral might mean, keep going, or don't fall here, or you're not done yet. It doesn't matter. You nod to it like an old friend and move on. The road gets trickier now, narrower, tilted, paved with irregular stones that don't seem to care about your arches. But the view is outrageous. Deep valleys cloaked in mist, jagged ridges glowing gold in the angled light. Somewhere in that haze is your destination? Maybe. You pass another tambo, ruined this time. Roof gone. One wall crumbled, but the doorway is still there, frame still intact, defiant. You sit on a flat stone and take out your meal for the day. Toasted maize, dried fish, and a few coca leaves pressed into a wrap of banana fiber. You chew slowly, letting your mind wander. Someone once told you that each tambo had its own keeper, like a mountain innkeeper/intelligence officer. They maintained the fire, kept the records, fed the chaskies, and sometimes, yes, passed on gossip. The Inca system wasn't just about roads and rocks, it was about people. Thousands of them. Invisible, efficient, irreplaceable. As you rest, a breeze kicks up and carries something strange on it. Smoke? No, not fire. Incense. You follow the scent around the bend and come upon a tiny shrine. Just a stone platform with a few feathers laid out, a cracked gourd, and a sprig of fresh muña. It's not official. Someone made this. For Pachamama, maybe, or for the ancestors. Or maybe just to mark a spot where someone they loved never came back from. You bow your head, leave a coca leaf. You don't have to believe to respect. Then you run again. This stretch of road seems impossible. A staircase made by madmen, curving along a cliff with no railing, no mercy, no room for error. You plant your feet carefully, trying not to look down. You make it. Barely. Your knees are shaking. Then, at the top of a ridge, the view opens up again, and you see it. A massive stone structure with sloped walls, still intact after centuries. A way station, larger than the tambos. This one held supplies, maybe records, maybe even a message hub. You imagine runners arriving here, coughing up dust, passing off pouches, grabbing new orders, and vanishing again into the trail. Inside, the walls have niches like bookshelves. Most are empty now, but you can still feel the presence of messages passed, food stored, rituals observed. You find a scrap of woven fabric in one corner, faded, frayed, but patterned. Maybe once part of an official garment. You tuck it gently back into place. You're about to leave when you notice something else. A small symbol etched into the wall. A spiral. Again. You smile. Keep going, it says. And you do. You've gotten used to the silence by now. The kind of silence that isn't really silent. The hush of wind dragging its fingers through tall grass, the occasional flap of condor wings far above, the crunch of gravel underfoot, your own breath rising and falling like a slow tide. But there's another sound now. A soft jingle. Faint, rhythmic. You glance down. Your dispatch pouch is different today. Woven in tighter loops, with a strip of golden thread braided into one side. A subtle symbol has been stitched into the flap, a stepped triangle. You recognize it. It's used only on orders that come directly from Cusco, possibly even from the Sapa Inca himself. You swallow hard. No pressure. The pouch jingles again. Inside is a collection of small, polished tokens, discs of bone, wood, and shell, each etched with tiny carvings. These aren't coins. The Inca didn't use currency. These are ceremonial, or coded, or both. You've heard of these. Message pouches that only the highest scribes can fully interpret. Some say the tokens are mnemonic aids, like a quipu but visual. Others say they're diplomatic tools, objects meant to signify trust, allegiance, and binding promises. Either way, you're carrying something important enough to shimmer. You tuck the pouch tighter against your chest and start running. The road levels briefly and leads you across a series of low ridges. The wind is friendlier here, playful instead of punishing. Your pace quickens. You pass another chasqui going the opposite direction. You nod. He nods. No words exchanged. The unspoken bond of people who know what it's like to trade blood for miles. Halfway through the day's run, the trail turns into a sequence of carved steps, narrow, uneven, brutal on your thighs. You grind upward, 1 foot at a time, the ceremonial pouch bouncing gently, like it's reminding you not to trip. At the top is a tambo unlike any you've seen before. It's painted. The ochre-red pigment has faded with time, but the patterns are still visible. Geometric shapes, stylized condors, spirals again. Someone took the time to decorate this place, which means it was more than just a pit stop. It might have been a checkpoint, or a ritual site, or both. Inside, you find 3 men sitting around a fire, speaking softly. They wear wool cloaks dyed dark indigo, government messengers, you guess, possibly tied to the priesthood. One of them stands as you approach. You've come from the northern pass? You nod. He eyes your pouch. You'll deliver it directly. No relay. You nod again. So it's that kind of message. He hands you a drinking cup filled with warm chicha. You take a sip. It's sweet, sour, gritty, like memories. They ask no more questions. You're given space near the fire. You eat, sleep briefly, and by mid-afternoon, you're on your way again. The trail winds down into a valley where the air is thick with flowers and insects. You swat lazily at a mosquito the size of a hummingbird and nearly roll your ankle on a loose stone. Careful. You pass a crumbling shrine. Inside is a carved stone shaped like a llama. You leave a coca leaf and whisper a blessing you half remember from your grandmother. It probably comes out as something like, "May your llamas have cooperative moods." Still, it feels right. As you run, the ceremonial pouch begins to feel heavier. Not physically, but in your mind. You start to wonder, what kind of message requires such care? What if it's about war, or a marriage proposal between provinces, or worse, a declaration of famine? You'll never know. That's not your role. But curiosity, it follows you like your shadow. You remember a tale from another Chasqui, one who delivered a pouch like this and then vanished. Some say he stole a token. Others say he was caught in a landslide. Some claim he was taken into the sky by Viracocha himself to serve as a divine courier. That last version is obviously the best, but no one ever found the pouch. You grip yours tighter and keep going. Evening creeps in slowly, painting the mountains violet and the river gold. You arrive at your destination, a tambo carved directly into the cliff face, no wood, just stone, built to last. 2 women meet you at the entrance. One carries a ceremonial staff, the other, a small clay bowl of burning sage. They say nothing, only gesture for the pouch. You bow, remove it carefully, and offer it with both hands. The woman with the staff inspects the stitching, the tokens, the golden thread. She nods. "Thank you, runner," she says quietly. "You have done well." You bow again and step back. Your part is over. You sit near the fire pit, watching them disappear into the tambo's shadows. Somewhere inside, someone is decoding the message, unfolding meaning from tokens, gestures, objects chosen with care. You'll never know what it said, but you know you were part of it. That night, you lie awake under a roof of stars. The pouch is gone, but your chest still feels its weight, and in the silence, you almost hear a voice saying, "There are no small messages, only long roads." You wake to the sound of someone sharpening a knife, not in a threatening way, just in the casual, morning maintenance of blades kind of way. The sky is still bruised with early dawn light, and mist clings to the valley floor like a blanket that doesn't want to let go. Your legs ache, your shoulders itch from bug bites, and you have dirt in your eyebrows. Classic Chasqui glamour. Today's route climbs again, up into territory where even the llamas act nervous. You've been given a message to deliver to one of the outermost watch stations, high on a ridge where nothing grows and everything echoes. Your pouch today is light. Just a small, tightly wrapped bundle secured in reed fiber. The Tambo steward only raised an eyebrow when handing it off. "For the sentry," he said. "Don't read it unless you want to get mistaken for a traitor and thrown off a cliff." Ah, so it's that kind of delivery. You're starting to get used to that vague sense of state-sponsored paranoia. The road today is narrower than usual. It hugs the edge of a sheer slope where one wrong step could turn you into a boulder with opinions. The wind howls here, shrieking around stone outcrops and snapping at your tunic. You pull your cloak tighter and press on, the bundle slapping softly against your ribs. This stretch of trail feels older, less tended. The stones are uneven, weathered, and in some places completely missing. You jump gaps, duck low-hanging rock shelves, and use your hands more than you'd like. It's less a road and more of a suggestion. As you pause to catch your breath, you spot something off to the left, a flat patch of ground, carved roughly into a square. It's not a tambo, there's no roof, just a hollowed niche in the cliff wall and a low stone bench, a place to wait. You realize suddenly it's a transfer point, but for secret deliveries. This is where messages are left, not exchanged directly. You've heard whispers of such places. Dead drops, some call them. Used when trust is thin or surveillance is high. You place your hand on the niche. It's cold, empty. You wonder how many bundles like yours passed through here, silent, unmarked, vanishing into history without a single word written about them. Historians still argue whether the Incas had a formal espionage network. There are stories of shadow chasquis who ran at night and never used tambos, who wore dark cloaks and carried only verbal codes. Some say they could blend in as farmers, disappear into crowds, and relay false messages to sniff out traitors. Others dismiss it all as imperial myth-making. You resume your climb. By midday, you reach a ridge so high it feels like the wind is trying to convince you to give up and go home. There's a lookout post carved into the cliffside, a tight circle of stone with a single slit window aimed toward the valley. A figure stands there, tall, wrapped in layers of woven fabric, and utterly still. You approach, slowly. "Sentry," you call out, lifting the bundle. The figure doesn't move at first. Then, slowly, he turns, face covered by a cloth wrap, only his eyes visible. They're red from wind and sun. "State your route," he says. You do, listing every tambo and checkpoint along the way. He listens. When you're done, he nods and extends a weathered hand. You place the bundle in it. He doesn't thank you, just turns and walks inside the stone post. You don't follow. Some things don't belong to you. You sit for a moment on the edge of the ridge, looking out at what feels like the whole world, the mountains layered like blue paper, rivers glinting like silver cords, and somewhere far below the very road you just ran. You pull out a strip of jerky, chew slowly, and let your legs rest. Then you hear it. Footsteps. Fast. Behind you. You turn just in time to see another runner, a woman, burst over the rise, eyes wide, gasping for air. "There's movement in the jungle," she pants. "Strangers, pale skin, on animals with hooves." You blink. "Horses?" you ask. She nods. You've heard rumors, wild ones. Boats as large as tambos, people who wear metal. But now it's closer, realer. The sentry steps out, bundle in hand. "Take this," he says to her. "Double back. Use the upper trail." She nods, grabs the bundle, and takes off without another word. You sit in stunned silence for a moment. The mountains don't seem so steady anymore. The sentry turns to you. "Stay off the main road," he says, "at least for a while." You nod slowly. Everything's shifting. But you know your job. Run the message, carry the pouch. Don't ask questions. You start back down the slope, legs rubbery, heart a little too loud in your chest. For the first time in a long time, you feel watched. Not by condors, not by llamas, by something foreign, something coming. You tighten your sandals, square your shoulders, and keep moving. The road isn't finished with you yet. You descend fast, faster than you should. not out of confidence. Your legs are trembling, your knees complain with every step, but because the trail behind you feels heavier now, tense, like it's being stalked by something invisible, something wearing boots instead of sandals. You pass a flock of startled birds and hear them scatter like gossip. Good. Let them warn whoever's ahead that the wind carries strange news. The tambo you arrive at next is quiet. Too quiet. You've come to expect at least a few signs of life. A mule snorting, someone tending a fire, the rhythmic sound of chewing. But here, nothing. Just ash in the hearth and the lingering smell of dried maize. You walk inside. There's a clay cup on the floor, upside down. A blanket draped over a bench, but it's stiff, like it hasn't been touched in days. And on the back wall, drawn in charcoal, is a rough sketch of a spiral. Again, that symbol's following you like a shadow. You don't linger. You refill your water, chew a small bundle of coca, and get back on the trail. Today's path dips into lower elevation. You can tell by the air, warmer, thicker, buzzing with insects who haven't yet decided if they want to bite you or befriend you. The terrain is softer here, and for the first time in days, you're running through trees. Real trees. Not just highland shrubs or stunted bushes, but full jungle leaf, bird cackling, leaf-cushioned forest. It's beautiful, and absolutely crawling with life. Somewhere in the canopy above, a monkey is screaming at another monkey. Possibly about you, possibly about lunch. You don't make eye contact. You're not here to become part of the food chain. The trail widens unexpectedly into a stone platform, half covered in moss, but clearly shaped by hands. On one side is a low wall, just high enough to sit on. On the other, a small pool where clear water trickles down from a carved spout shaped like a bird's beak. You stop to drink. The water is cold, clean, and tastes like minerals and morning fog. There's a carving on the stone near your foot. It's faded, but you can make out a series of small circles inside a triangle. Another message? A border marker? Or just someone doodling centuries ago? Historians still argue over these minor carvings. Some insist they were warnings. Others say they marked spiritual hot spots where offerings were expected. A fringe theory suggests they were made by bored chaskies killing time while waiting for the next relay. You could believe any of them. You lean back against the wall, letting your body settle. For a moment, you listen. To the dripping water, to the buzzing of things unseen, to your own heart, which still hasn't decided whether this is a normal day or the beginning of the end. Then you hear the crack of a branch, not above you. Behind, you freeze. A second sound, softer, fabric brushing leaves. You slowly rise and turn. It's a boy, maybe 12, thin, dirty, eyes wide like he just swallowed lightning. "You're a chasky," he says, breathless. You nod. "Message," he blurts, holding out a banana leaf folded tight around something. "They told me to wait here. Give it to the first runner." You take it gently, eyebrows raised. The leaf is warm, slightly damp, and something inside rattles softly. "Who sent it?" you ask. He shrugs. "I don't know. They gave me a sweet potato and said, 'Don't move until you do this.' So I didn't." You want to smile at the simplicity of that loyalty, but you're too busy unwrapping the bundle. Inside, a shell. A single, gleaming shell, pink and white and carved along the edge with the symbol of a sun. You've seen this before, in the northern tambos. It's a marker, a warning, used when no words are safe. This shell means the message trail is compromised. Use alternates. You tuck the shell carefully into your pouch. You thank the boy, offer him a strip of dried fruit, and start walking again, but not on the main trail. You veer off, slipping into a side path that's barely visible, just a depression in the leaf litter. It zigzags downward into the trees. As you run, you pass small way markers, tufts of colored fiber tied to branches, stone stacks hidden behind tree trunks. The chaskies have their own secret signs, just in case. You begin to feel like you're running beneath the skin of the empire, in its quiet veins. not its proud arteries. And you wonder, how many messengers disappeared into these alternate routes, never recorded, never remembered, just part of the system's pulse. The day is ending now. Golden light pours in sideways, painting every leaf, every stone, every thought with warmth. You find your destination, a tambo buried in vines. You push the greenery aside, step inside, and breathe out a long, long breath. The walls are intact. There's a fire pit, a mat, even a gourd of chicha someone left for you, cool and welcoming. There's a note too, not a quipu, not a coded bundle, just a scrap of bark marked with 3 symbols: shell, spiral, I. You sit, you eat, you drink, and you think. The empire is still running, but something's watching now. Something's pressing at the edges of the system. And not even the forest can fully hide you. You curl up on the mat and whisper the code aloud. Shell, spiral, I. A message in the dark. You wake to heat, real heat, the kind that makes your eyelids sticky and your tunic cling in ways that make you question your life decisions. You've officially descended out of the highlands and into the low, dense, sticky lungs of the empire. The humid, whispering jungles where the air hums with insects and even the rocks seem damp. The tambo you slept in was half-eaten by vines, but someone left fresh tracks near the entrance. Another runner? Maybe. Or someone less sanctioned. You step out into green. So much green it feels like you've been swallowed by a forest god with a flair for over-watering plants. Leaves the size of your torso sway overhead. Bright birds screech obscenities at each other across the canopy. Somewhere nearby, something growls. Could be a monkey, could be worse. You're carrying something different today. No pouch, no quipu, just a feather. A single, vibrantly dyed parrot feather, threaded through a reed tube and capped with wax. The tambo steward handed it to you like it was glass. You'll meet someone, she said, on the old root bridge, near the red water. That's it. No other directions, no formal orders, just a feather and a vague sense of destiny. You tuck the tube into a sling across your back and start moving. The jungle trail is narrower than anything in the highlands. Less road and more well-worn snake path. Roots crisscross it like traps. Vines dangle into your face with casual menace. You get smacked in the eye by a leaf twice. The same leaf. After an hour, your skin is a canvas of mosquito bites and existential frustration. Still, it's beautiful. Bright orange orchids bloom between rocks. Butterflies the size of your hand follow you briefly, then flit off like gossip with wings. You hear a distant waterfall and consider ditching the whole run for a spa day with a capybara. But then you find the bridge, or what passes for one. It's a mess of old tree roots knotted together, reinforced with planks, vines, and the power of delusion. It spans a slow-moving stream the color of rust. Red water, presumably. On the far side, a figure waits. You squint. They wear a wide-brimmed straw hat and a cloak made of bird feathers, green, yellow, brilliant blue. Their face is hidden. A tall staff is planted beside them. You cross slowly. The bridge creaks, once, then again. You don't breathe until you step off the last root and feel solid ground beneath your feet. The figure speaks without lifting their head. You have it? You nod and hand them the reed tube. They inspect it, sniff it, weird, and then snap off the wax cap. Inside, the feather is intact, red and yellow, curled slightly. The figure holds it up to the light. It speaks, they whisper. You wait. They nod once and press something into your hand before vanishing into the jungle without another word. Like a fever dream with a postal route. You look down. It's another feather, blue and white, tucked into a bark tube. No wax this time, just a twist of grass binding the end shut. You're not sure what just happened, but it feels important. Historians still argue whether the Inca used coded items like these, symbols instead of words, passed silently, too subtle for foreign eyes. Some suggest entire negotiations took place through feathers, fabrics, and scented oils. Others think these stories are exaggerations, myth layered over memory. But here you are, feather in hand, sweating through your tunic in the middle of the world's steamiest mystery novel. You turn back to the trail. This time, you follow the stream. It curls through the jungle like a lazy snake, glinting red and gold in the broken sunlight. Your new delivery is light, but it buzzes with tension. You feel like you're carrying a secret that doesn't belong to you. Along the way, you spot another marker. A bird skull tied to a branch with red fiber. A code, maybe, or a warning, or just someone's idea of jungle chic. Eventually, you find the next tambo, little more than a clearing with a stone platform and a roof of palm leaves. A small fire pit smolders in the center. No one's here. You sit, wait, listen. The jungle never shuts up. It breathes, croaks, whistles, screams. After what feels like an hour, someone arrives. Not from the trail, from the trees. A woman drops down from a branch like a jaguar in human form. She's barefoot, her legs covered in painted patterns, her eyes unreadable. You hold up the bark tube. She takes it, unwraps it, nods. Then she laughs, loudly, joyfully. "You brought it," she says and gives you a mango. You blink. That's it? A feather, a laugh, and a mango? You nod politely and take the fruit. It's perfect. Cool, sweet, worth the sweat and potential disease-carrying insect encounters. "Go back by the rock path," she says. "Faster. Drier." You thank her. You leave. You walk the rock path, which is still wet, slippery, and full of hidden frogs, but at least it's shorter. Back at the tambo you started from, the steward is waiting. "Well?" she asks. You shrug and hand her the pit of the mango. She takes it, wraps it in cloth, and places it in a ceramic jar. "Perfect," she says. You give up trying to understand and crawl into a hammock. The jungle whispers around you. Birds call to one another in a language older than Quipus. And you dream of feathers that carry more than flight. Feathers that speak. You don't realize you're climbing again until your ears start popping and your calves complain like overworked porters. The jungle gave you a short reprieve, shade, mangoes, cryptic feather deliveries, but now the trail is tilting upward again, and the green is thinning into sparse brush and patchy grass. You chew a mouthful of coca, feel your tongue go numb, and keep going. After the thick breath of the lowlands, this altitude feels like trying to breathe through a straw while someone sits on your chest. Every few steps, you pause, not because you're tired, though you are, but because you're starting to see things. It begins with flickers at the edge of your vision, shadows darting between trees that aren't there, birds that dissolve when you blink. Then the sounds come. Whispers. Nothing you can understand. Maybe Quechua. Maybe just wind wearing a mask. You laugh out loud. Then realize your laugh came out slightly wrong, like it bounced off your own skull and came back broken. Altitude sickness. Classic. You know the drill. Rest. Breathe. Coca helps. So does Munya tea. But there's no time. You've got a pouch to deliver. Today's message is a tight roll of soft leather, dyed black, and sealed with a knot. Not wax, but a looped quipu fragment. That's unusual. The tambo steward was tight-lipped, just handed it off with a "do not drop this." You try not to wonder why it's sealed in a piece of a broken quipu, a warning, a disguise, or a code that only makes sense to one person in the empire. You reach a small clearing where the trail forks. No marker stones, no signs, just a decision. Right, toward the ridgeline, or left, into a narrow ravine. Both paths look equally menacing. Classic. You choose left. It's cooler, shadier, and filled with the soft sound of trickling water. You begin to descend, and that's when the dreams start. But you're not asleep. You see flashes, golden masks, rows of maize. A woman with eyes like obsidian threading feathers into a long cord. She hums a tune you somehow recognize. You trip on a rock, hit the ground, and jolt back to reality. The pouch is safe, your knees are scratched, and there's a beetle on your face. Welcome back. You wash in the stream. The cold water slaps your thoughts back into order. Then you hear someone singing. Up ahead, you freeze. Wait, it's a man's voice, old, cracking, but steady. Singing a song that rides the rhythm of the trail itself. It weaves in words about the sun, about water, about returning home. You step forward slowly and spot him, an elder, seated on a flat rock, weaving something between his knees. You approach carefully. He doesn't look up. "Runner," he says. "Sit." You obey. He finishes the weaving, a small pouch of red and white wool, and hands it to you. "It's for the next one," he says. "The next what?" He shrugs. "Runner, spirit, messenger. Same thing." You place it in your bag. Then you ask, "What's in this?" patting the sealed leather pouch you've been carrying. He smiles. "It's a message to someone who no longer has a name," he says, "but who still has a job to do." You don't ask more. You climb again, up through thinning air and bright silence. By late afternoon, you reach a tambo cut directly into a granite cliff. There are no people, just shadows and a small fire already lit. Somehow, someone knew you were coming. You enter, unwrap the sealed pouch, and place it in the ceremonial bowl left in the center of the room. You don't touch the red and white pouch. That's for the next one. You sit cross-legged, eyes half closed, letting the dizziness drift over you like mist. You've heard stories. Runners at high altitude sometimes receive visions, messages not written, not spoken, but absorbed. You've always thought it was just the coca and the lack of oxygen. But tonight, you see something else. A face, not yours, running down the same trail, carrying a pouch like yours. Only it's centuries from now. Their shoes are strange, their clothes even stranger. But their eyes? The same. You blink. Gone. Outside, the wind howls. You lie back on the mat and whisper the song you heard earlier. The tune sticks with you. And so do the shadows. Historians still argue whether altitude-induced visions were ritualized or purely accidental. Some believe the Inca created sacred routes specifically to induce altered states, trails designed to open the mind as much as move the body. You believe it now. You dream of the quipu fragment untying itself, and the message whispering back. You wake before the sun. Not because you want to, let's be clear, you very much don't, but because something in the back of your skull tells you this is a day that might matter. The air is colder now, thinner. You can see your breath rising in little puffs, like ghost messengers trying to escape your mouth. Today, your route ends in Cusco. You pack quietly, tucking the red and white woven pouch into your sash. It has no name, no address, no escort, but you're supposed to deliver it, and that's enough. You're a runner, not a philosopher. The trail this morning is smoother than expected, well-laid stones, wide enough for 3 people across, which feels like luxury. You catch yourself moving faster than usual. Anticipation builds. Your legs respond. You start to hum the tune from yesterday, the one that sounded like prophecy. By the time the city appears, it's almost mid-morning. Cusco. You crest the final ridge and there it is, the navel of the empire, the center of everything. A golden spiderweb of roads stretching outward from a city carved with intention. It doesn't just sit in the valley, it owns it. Stone walls rise with perfect angles. Terraces bloom in steps like green thunder. The main square is already alive. Merchants, priests, guards, animals, and messengers like you weaving between it all. You enter the city through the northern gate. It's not just a gate, it's a statement. Trapezoidal, framed by walls so precise it makes your own bones feel clumsy. No mortar, no cracks, just balance and belief. And people. So many people. Everyone moving, everyone knowing exactly where to go. You slow your pace slightly, just enough to keep your presence measured. You're no longer sprinting through mountain trails. You're entering the stomach of the beast, and you've got something to feed it. You navigate side streets that still follow the same sacred grid. The four quarters of the empire converging here like arteries to a heart. You pass market stalls with colored peppers strung like beads. You smell hot chicha, roasting maize, fresh-cut cactus. Then you reach the plaza. At the far end rises the Coricancha, the Temple of the Sun. Once plated entirely in gold, now only its walls remain unplundered. You stop and stare. It's hard not to. This is the house of Inti himself, the sun god, the patron of power. Even your breath seems to hush itself here. You glance down at the red and white pouch. Yup, still glowing faintly in your mind, like it knows where it wants to go. You're waved through by a guard. He doesn't ask your name, just sees your sandals, your posture, your eyes. He knows you're a Chasqui. Inside the temple's courtyard, the stone is warmer, as if it remembers every footstep that's passed over it. Priests move in silence, mouths hidden, hands full of offerings. One approaches you. "From the ridge, Tambo?" he asks. You nod and hold out the pouch. He takes it with the gentleness of someone handling prophecy. "It will be read tonight," he says. "You have done well." He gestures to a side bench. "Rest. Food will come." You sit, and for the first time in days, you actually relax. Not pretend relax. Not, "I'll close one eye while still gripping my pouch," relax. Actual exhale, lean back, let your heartbeat drop, relax. A servant brings you a bowl of hot quinoa soup. You eat slowly. Every bite feels earned. As you finish, a boy runs past, barefoot, younger than you were when you started. He's holding a woven cord in one hand, a tightly folded strip of cloth in the other. He's chanting his message under his breath, over and over, afraid of forgetting. You watch him go. It's like seeing a mirror from 5 years ago. You smile, then a whisper. "The Sapa Inca may receive you." You freeze, slowly turn. A robed priest stands behind you, his eyes unreadable, his hands folded. "Now?" you ask. He nods once. You're escorted along a garden path where fountains gurgle and gold sun discs catch the afternoon light like fire trapped in metal. Your footsteps feel too loud. Then you enter a room. No gold, no fanfare, just him, the Sapa Inca. He sits on a low platform, dressed in layers of dyed wool and feathers. No crown today, just presence. He looks at you, not above you, not past you, at you. "You ran the ridge route?" he asks. "Yes, my lord." "You carried the pouch?" "Yes." "You did not open it?" "No." He nods, then silence. It stretches. You resist the urge to shuffle your feet. Finally, he says, "Many runners come. Few return with silence still in their mouths. You have kept yours." It's not a compliment. It's an observation, a data point. You're dismissed with a wave of his hand. Just like that. No reward, no ceremony. But as you leave, a priest hands you something wrapped in cloth. You don't open it until you're outside the temple. Inside, a pair of sandals, new, woven tight, the soles marked with the sun symbol. Custom sandals, that's your reward. Not gold, not titles. Just the unspoken acknowledgement that your feet deserve better. You sit on a stone bench, slip them on, and laugh softly. They fit perfectly. And for the first time you realize you didn't just reach the end of a route. You've stepped into a new one. It's strange being in Cusco with nothing to run. Your body doesn't quite know what to do with itself. You wake up early anyway, feet twitching, mind already looking for the next route, the next pouch, the next hill to suffer through. But there's no assignment yet. No sealed quipu, no feather tube, no mysterious boy waiting with a leaf-wrapped riddle. Just time. And time is dangerous. You wander the city instead. You roam the market, where rows of potatoes stretch longer than some roads you've run. Every shade, every texture. Some are so bitter you could clean a wound with them. Some are soft enough to eat raw. A woman yells at a llama, someone drops a jug of chicha, a kid tries to sell you an amulet made from a dried frog foot. Typical Tuesday. Then you find yourself near the training grounds, and that's when you see it. The petty chaos of the Chasqui gossip circuit in full bloom. Two young runners are arguing, loudly. No, my route's harder. Try climbing Death Cliff Pass while being chased by a condor. Condors don't chase people. They do if you steal their egg. You watch from a distance as a third Chasqui chimes in, arms folded. You all think your paths matter most. Meanwhile, I've been rerouted 3 times because of someone losing a ceremonial pouch in a river. Everyone groans. Ah yes, Chasqui drama, as old as the roads themselves. You remember being like them, green, cocky, thinking a blister was a mark of glory. But they'll learn. The road teaches, sometimes kindly, often with scraped knees and bruised pride. You sit on a low wall, watching them squabble, until one of the trainers spots you. "Runner!" she calls. "Still breathing?" "Mostly," you reply. She walks over and hands you a tightly folded bundle. No official route yet. But this came through the southern Tambo, said to deliver it only to a Chasqui, with enough scars to not ask questions. You raise an eyebrow. "I qualify?" She snorts. You've got the look. That I've seen things twitch in your eye. You laugh. Inside the bundle, a piece of cloth dyed deep blue, with a knotted string attached and a circle of pressed flowers tucked into the fold. No writing, no explanation. You know what this is, a private message, not imperial, not religious, just human. A message passed from one person to another using the fastest, most reliable service in the world. Your feet. These happen more than people think. A mother sending word to her daughter in the valley. A healer offering a dried herb to an old friend. A lover passing a scent-wrapped lock of hair with no note at all. No coin changes hands. Just trust. Historians rarely write about these. Too mundane, too soft. But they're real. And in their own way, they keep the empire running just as much as taxes and orders and tribute lists. You pocket the cloth and ask where it's going. 2 tambos down the northwest route, she says. You'll know the person. She'll be waiting. Always is. You nod, lace your sandals, and feel the rhythm return. Just like that, your feet remember their job. The road out of Cusco hums underfoot. Familiar, kind. You pass children racing each other and traders leading reluctant alpacas. One man offers to sell you a lucky rock used by the Sapa Inca to scratch his back. You politely decline. As you leave the city behind, the landscape shifts. It's quieter again. The sun warms your shoulders. Birds flicker overhead. And for a while, you're just moving, not rushing, not sprinting, just existing between footfalls. You reach the first tambo and rest briefly. The keeper eyes the bundle but doesn't comment. She's seen enough to know when something isn't meant to be questioned. By afternoon, you reach the second tambo. This one overlooks a valley so green it hurts your eyes. Terraced fields curve around the hills like someone draped the earth in woven cloth. A soft wind carries the smell of maize and wet stone. She's there, sitting near the edge of the tambo, plucking burrs from her sandals. Middle-aged, sharp eyes, the kind of calm that comes from seeing too much and surviving anyway. You approach and hand her the cloth. She unfolds it slowly, looks at the flowers, nods. "Thank you," she says. You shrug. "No trouble." She smiles. Everything's trouble, but the road makes it matter less. You sit beside her for a moment. Neither of you speaks. The wind does that for you. After a while, she pulls out a small clay cup and pours you something sweet. You sip. You don't ask what it is. She doesn't say who sent the flowers. but you both understand. Some messages don't need words. You're rerouted, not for the first time, and definitely not for the last. One moment you're preparing to head back to Cusco for another assignment, and the next, a breathless runner arrives from the southwest with news. Trails blocked. Mudslide near the 5th Ridge. You'll have to cut through the cloud forest. You sigh. The cloud forest. Where the air is thick, the trees are thicker, and the mud seems to have personal vendettas. You're given a new message pouch. This one's sealed inside a tightly wrapped bark scroll. Lightweight. Damp to the touch. Probably an herbal parcel or a coated plant-based offering. These lowland routes are always a bit more botanical. You stuff it in your sash and hit the detour. The trail is overgrown. Roots twist like snakes underfoot. Moss droops from branches in shaggy curtains. You start sweating immediately. Within 10 minutes, you feel like you've been dunked in a hot spring and then rolled in banana leaves. There's no sound of villages here, just the endless chirp, buzz, croak, and occasional unsettling thunk of unseen animals dropping from somewhere above. You'd rather not look up. After a while, you come across a post. Not a tambo, not even a proper marker, just a pole wrapped in red-dyed grass, a direction change. You squint and follow the path it's pointing toward, a barely visible depression in the forest floor. You run low to the ground, dodging vines that seem to lunge at you like they're auditioning for a myth. The trail curves in tight zigzags, climbing and falling without warning. The mist thickens until you can't tell if it's raining or the clouds are simply leaking again. Then, through the fog, a hut. It's not stone, it's woven, made of reeds, bamboo, and something sticky. A low, domed structure that seems to breathe with the forest. You knock softly. A hand emerges. Small, brown, trembling slightly. An elder. You place the bark scroll into it. The hand withdraws. Nothing is said. No thank you. No offer of food. Not even a nod. You leave. As you retrace your steps through the cloud forest, your thoughts wander. This trail doesn't show up on maps. Most tambos don't even mention it. But it exists, used by those who refuse to live under the empire's direct gaze. Outlying tribes, silent allies, maybe even people considered enemies but too important to ignore. Historians still debate whether the Inca secret routes like this were part of a formal network or improvised by local chasquis. Some say the emperor sanctioned them for delicate negotiations. Others believe they were grassroots operations, proof that the road belonged to the people as much as the state. Either way, you've just run one. You trip over a vine and faceplant into moss. Lying there, you mutter into the ground, "Of course." Then you roll onto your back and stare up at the canopy. Somewhere above, a bird mimics your grunt. Rude. You laugh. Eventually, you find your way out, back to a main route marked by stone walls and clean, deliberate paving. It's almost shocking to your eyes, like returning to civilization after time in a dream. A nearby tambo welcomes you with a fire already lit and a bowl of steamed cassava. You eat slowly, watching the mist dissipate beyond the ridges. Other runners arrive, one covered in bee stings, another missing a sandal, the third carrying a pouch so muddy it looks like it's trying to camouflage itself. You exchange nods, then silence. That's the thing about runners. You share 1,000 unspoken truths with every footstep. No need to explain. Later, while repairing your sandal with a cactus needle and thread, you notice something. On the stone near the fire pit, etched faintly, almost worn away, another spiral. You smile. The road's watching you too. You sleep that night on a mat of dry reeds, dreaming of vines that whisper secrets and feathers that bloom like messages in the trees. And just before waking, you hear someone say, clear as a bell in your mind, "The jungle sees everything, but it forgets nothing." You're not afraid of heights. You've run along cliff edges so narrow your shadow didn't even have room to stretch. You've tiptoed across terraces that looked more like dreams of roads than actual roads. But this is something else. A bridge made of grass. It sways in the wind like it's trying to make up its mind about your survival. Suspended across a chasm so deep it seems to disappear into its own echo, the bridge hangs between two jagged cliffs like a dare. Welcome to the Queswachaka, the last surviving rope bridges of the empire. Made entirely by hand, from woven ichu grass, these bridges are as much ritual as engineering. Communities gather every year to rebuild them, singing and twisting and knotting life into every fiber. And now you're supposed to cross one. You stare at it for a long moment, then chew 3 coca leaves, for courage, then 5 more, for good measure. The bridge creaks in the wind like it knows your full name. You're carrying a message today that's oddly heavy. 3 wooden tokens wrapped in cloth, bound together with a cord knotted in tight spirals. You don't know what they mean, but you've seen the design before. It's used only for border negotiations. That makes sense. On the far side of the canyon lies a region less aligned with Cusco, more independent in spirit. The kind of place where one wrong message could restart a blood feud that predates maize. You step onto the bridge, it moves immediately. A sickening slow lurch that makes your knees argue with your lungs. The planks underfoot aren't flat, just bundles of fiber, woven tight, but still alive, springy, breathing. You grab the side ropes, which are coarser than expected. They scrape your palms but keep you upright. Halfway across, the wind picks up. The bridge shudders. You freeze. Not because of fear, okay, partly fear, but mostly because you hear something strange. Music. A soft whistle. A flute, maybe. Rising from below. You glance down, bad idea, and see only mist. You keep moving. Each step is a negotiation. With gravity, with your own self-confidence, with the collective faith of everyone who's ever built or crossed this thing. Then, blessed solid earth. You stagger off the bridge like a newborn llama and immediately kiss the ground. The grass tastes like dust and victory. There's a tambo nearby, small, round, mostly built into the hillside. A boy greets you. He's maybe 8. Bright eyes. He holds out his hand like a gatekeeper. Message? He asks. You hand him the cloth-wrapped bundle. He inspects it with the seriousness of someone twice his age, then nods and disappears into the hut. You sit, heart still racing, and try not to look at the bridge again. It sways behind you like it's waving goodbye. A woman appears with a bowl of hot quinoa stew and a gourd of honeyed water. You eat slowly, eyes closed. Every bite tastes like, I didn't die, which today is a flavor you're especially fond of. Later, while your legs try to forgive you, a local elder joins you by the fire. You crossed Queswachaka alone, he says. You nod. He chuckles. Foolish or brave? Sometimes the same thing, you reply. He nods, pleased. Historians argue, he says, poking the fire with a stick, whether the bridges were made just for travel or also for ritual. Some say crossing cleanses your soul. Others say it tests your worth. You stare into the flames. Maybe it does both. He shrugs. All I know is the bridge listens. It knows if you're lying. You let that sink in for a moment, then he leans closer. You want to know something? You nod. That music you heard, he says. Real. It's always there. Some say it's the breath of the ancestors. Some say it's the bridge singing back to the wind. You smile. You like both explanations. You sleep in the tambo that night, dreaming of swinging vines and bridges that whisper names. In your dream, you're not alone on the rope bridge. There are others, old runners, new runners, shadows, stories, all walking together, all humming the same tune. When you wake, the wind is calm, the bridge is still. But just before you leave, you hear it again. A faint, high flute note. Like someone saying, "Good job, little runner. Try not to fall next time." You leave the bridge behind, but it doesn't leave you. Every step afterward feels a little lighter, like the rope fibers wound their way into your legs and added just a bit of bounce. You're back on firm ground now, but your ears still ring with that ghostly whistle, like the wind itself has decided to tag along for the journey. The terrain shifts again. Gone are the steep ridges and dangling bridges. You're on high plains now, vast stretches of open land with short grass, grazing alpacas, and skies so wide you feel like a dot painted onto a god's fingernail. Up here, the air is clearer, colder, and carries sound in strange ways. And today, that sound is signals. Short bursts of wind-driven conch shell blasts from distant hills. Columns of smoke rising and curling like question marks above the horizon. These aren't random. This is the communication chain, the high-speed alert system of the Empire. You pause, watching the smoke patterns. 1, 2, pause. Then 3. From another peak, a mirrored signal answers back. They're sending a warning, probably weather, maybe intruders, possibly a big-lunged llama stampede. You've heard of all 3. Your Tambo host from last night told you today's delivery would be unique. Not a pouch, not a quipu, not even a scroll. Just a message to repeat. Carry the words, not the weight, he said. You were given a phrase, whispered 3 times into your ear, then sent off with strict instructions not to write it down, not to tell it early, and absolutely not to mess it up. So you chant it in your mind, again and again. Corn storage breached. Southern silo compromised. Rebuild before frost. Short, sharp, urgent. You're the relay now. The human shell. A walking warning. You pass a ridge lookout station, just a rock wall and a signal horn. The watcher nods when he sees you. You shout the message. He repeats it, louder, then raises a long conch shell to his lips and blasts a single mournful note into the sky. Seconds later, a matching note sounds from across the plain. The message travels faster than your feet ever could. It's amazing, really. A civilization with no writing as you'd recognize it, no radios, no satellites, just runners, smoke, and wind instruments. And somehow it works. Historians still argue how far these signals could go in a single day. Some say hundreds of miles. Others say the system was more local, short bursts of info handed off like hot stones. Either way, the effect is the same. A murmuring empire, always awake, always talking to itself. You move on, trotting through dry grass that crunches underfoot. A small herd of alpacas watches you with disinterest. One sneezes dramatically. You bow slightly, just in case it was a blessing. The next signal post is a low tower built from stacked stone. A pair of boys sits beside it, one tending a pot of beans, the other playing a reed pipe. They look up as you approach. You deliver the phrase. The pipe player repeats it back with confidence, then scampers up the tower and waves a strip of dyed cloth, yellow and red, toward a distant hill. His partner blasts the horn. The message moves on. You sit and eat a bowl of beans. They're surprisingly good. Do you ever get tired of hearing the same thing all day? You ask. The younger boy grins. We make a game of it. Try to guess what the message means. And what did you guess today? He leans in dramatically. We think it means the Emperor's corn exploded. You nod solemnly. That's exactly what it means. He gasps. You leave them laughing, but the weight of the message is still in your chest. If those silos are damaged, entire communities could be short on food come the cold season. There's no joke in that. You run faster. At the third post, the watcher is already standing. He sees your approach, raises a black and white signal flag, and waits. You yell the phrase. He waves the flag in a looping arc, then sends up 2 short smoke bursts. Somewhere to the west, an answering plume rises. You sit beside the fire, catching your breath. The watcher hands you a strip of dried pumpkin. Tough run? Straightforward, you say. But the message doesn't get lighter. He nods. We're just echoes, but echoes carry far. You think about that. When you leave, the wind has picked up. The grass dances. The mountains loom again in the distance, old and listening. By the time you reach your final destination, a high plateau where three trails converge, it's dusk. You find a group of runners seated around a small fire. One steps forward. "You're from the south route?" You nod. You repeat the message one final time. He nods. "Got it. We'll take it from here." He offers you a blanket. Rest. Tomorrow, new words. You lie down under the stars, the phrase still echoing in your head. Corn storage breached, southern silo compromised, rebuild before frost. Simple, urgent. Entire villages will shift plans because of that sentence. People will eat, or not, because of words that passed through your breath. And you didn't even carry a pouch. Just a warning. Just wind. You should have reached the tambo by now. The path is there mostly. The sun is setting, sure, but you've run this kind of route before. Familiar terrain, clear markers, a gentle downward slope. And yet, the tambo doesn't come. What does come is an eerie quiet. No birds, no bugs, no distant bleating of alpacas, just the crunch of your own footsteps and the slow realization that the air feels wrong. Heavy, like it's holding its breath. You slow your pace. That's when you see it. A tambo in the distance, just off the trail. It's built properly. Stone walls, thatched roof, trapezoidal door. But something's off. You approach carefully. There's no smoke from the hearth, no voices, no movement. You step inside. The tambo is empty, utterly so. And not the "we stepped out for lunch" kind of empty. The "we vanished mid-sentence" kind. There's a bowl overturned on the floor, a cup half full of maize beer, now stale. A sandal left by the mat, its leather strap snapped. But no people, no bags, no messages waiting. You freeze. Your instincts aren't shouting yet, but they are clearing their throats. You search the building quickly. Nothing is damaged. No signs of fire, struggle, or weather. Everything's too intact. That's when you check the message locker. Each tambo has one, just a carved-out cubby in the stone wall, often hidden, where runners drop messages if no one's present, like a very ancient inbox. You open it. Inside is a pouch. You hesitate. It's wrapped in black cloth. No markings, no color threads, no quipu. Just a strip of fiber sealing it closed. You pick it up and immediately feel it's wrong. The pouch is too light. You undo the strip and look inside. It's empty. No letter, no tokens, no dried herbs, just a single white pebble. Smooth, round, cold. You've never seen this symbol before, but something deep in your memory says you shouldn't be holding it. You place it back in the cubby, slowly, like it's venomous. You step out of the tambo and look around. Still no sound, still no sign of life. You decide not to sleep there. Instead, you run. Hard. As if distance itself can explain the absence. You reach the next post by nightfall, breathless and sweating. It's manned. Thank the gods. The keeper sees your expression and immediately gestures you inside. "Another empty one?" he asks. You blink. "Wait, what?" "You came from the western tambo, yes?" he says, frowning. "You're the third runner today to say it's been abandoned." Your mouth goes dry. "Same signs?" He nods. All the food left behind, fire still warm, no footprints leaving. You sit down heavily. The keeper lowers his voice. "They're calling it losing the trail, like the people vanish, out of the system, not away from it." You remember the white pebble. You almost tell him. Then you don't. Instead, you say, "Anything new come in?" He nods again and hands you a folded quipu, small, knotted in a circular pattern with one red cord and several charcoal ones trailing out. You trace it with your fingers. The red cord stops abruptly. No knot, just a frayed end. The meaning is clear. A line has gone dark. This is how the Empire handles the unexplainable, quietly, symbolically. There's no ceremony, no panic, just a cord with a missing knot. You sleep uneasily, the image of the pebble spinning behind your eyelids. You dream of tambos filled with whispering wind, of pouches that bleed sand, of runners dropping off the edge of the map. And in the distance, always, the same symbol drawn in the dirt, a spiral. But this one is spinning in reverse. Historians rarely record these losses. You don't write about things you don't understand, especially when they involve silence. Some accounts survive in oral memory, tales of tambos where everyone vanished, messages that arrived blank, runners who walked into fog and never came out. Scholars debate if they were cautionary tales, metaphor, or simply gaps in the system. But runners like you've seen the gaps up close. You know they're real. The next morning, you're given new instructions. Don't stop at the missing tambo again, the keeper says. Don't even slow down. You nod, and as you leave, he hands you something small, a white pebble, nearly identical to the one you found. You flinch. It's a token, he explains. If you feel the silence following you, drop this on the trail behind you. Some say it confuses whatever's listening. You take it, just in case. You're moving faster now, not because someone told you to, but because something in your chest has decided to run ahead of your body, like a bird startled mid-meal. The mountains feel closer today, even though you're back in the highlands. The slopes lean in over the trail. The sky feels heavier, clouded not by rain but by expectation. You were given your next message just before dawn, a tightly bound ceremonial scroll wrapped in llama hide and sealed with red thread. On the outer layer, someone has drawn 3 dots in charcoal, spaced in a perfect triangle. You know what that means. This is for a shrine, and not just any shrine. You're heading to one of the cliffside blood altars where the old gods still sleep, and people sometimes go to wake them. The trail is steep and narrow, with sharp turns and carved steps worn down into smooth grooves. You're panting before you've cleared the first ridge. The scroll jabs your lower back with every step, like a small, insistent elbow, a reminder that you're carrying something holy, or dangerous, or both. No one's told you what's inside. They never do with shrine messages. You've heard stories, runners who deliver scrolls like this and aren't allowed to return by the same road, who get redirected, reassigned, watched, not for punishment, just because. You pass a group of farmers leading goats up a lower trail. One of them sees the red seal on your scroll and immediately turns his eyes to the ground, doesn't speak, doesn't nod. You feel alone again, like the only runner in a story that's getting darker by the mile. Then the shrine appears, carved directly into the cliff. Its entrance is a narrow crack in the rock, like the mountain itself was wounded and never fully healed. 2 stone statues flank the opening, bird-headed figures with spiral shells for eyes. Their expressions are unreadable. You step inside. It takes your eyes a minute to adjust. The passage narrows, slopes downward, and empties into a cavern glowing with firelight. A fire has already been lit. A figure waits beside it, hooded, seated on a woven mat, hands resting palm up on their knees. They don't speak, just gesture for the scroll. You kneel and hand it over. They untie it slowly, reverently. Inside, you glimpse something strange. A drawing. Not a quipu, not a token. A full illustration, done in black ink on thin parchment. You only see it for a moment, but it's enough. It's a map. Not of terrain, of people. You see figures marked in circles, connected by lines, annotated in symbols you've only seen in the libraries of the priest caste. At the center of the drawing, a sun, its rays curling inward instead of out. The hooded figure hums. Not a song, not a word, just a note. The cavern seems to respond. You shift uncomfortably, but stay still. Then the ceremony begins. They place the scroll onto a stone altar, flat and polished, and from a side pouch, they remove a small vial of dark liquid. They pour it onto the scroll. It beads at first, then seeps in. The fire pops once, loudly. The figure looks up directly at you. Wait. You do. Minutes pass. They chant something low, rhythmic. You can't understand the words, but they vibrate inside your chest like they've always been there. At last, they pick up the scroll again, now heavier somehow, and roll it back up, resealing it with fresh red thread. They hold it out to you. You hesitate. I thought this was a one-way delivery. Not anymore, they reply. You take it, carefully. It feels different. Warmer, like it knows where it's been. Where does it go now? You ask. The figure points northeast. The cliff temple above the lake. You'll reach it before nightfall. You leave the shrine with the scroll pressed close to your ribs. The air outside feels different. Lighter, maybe. Or maybe it's just your relief at being above ground again. You don't look back. The trail to the lake is narrower than you expected, cut into rock with steps so steep they seem carved by someone with very long legs and no sense of mercy. Your thighs ache. Your breath shortens, but you keep going. As you climb, you pass offerings left on the trail, bundles of herbs, small jars of pigment, tiny stone animals wrapped in red string, each one placed with intent. The lake appears suddenly, a shimmering, bowl-shaped stretch of water tucked between cliffs like a secret. The surface is still, black, mirror-like. Above it, the temple. Smaller than the shrine, simpler, but clean, tended. A young woman waits by the door. She sees your scroll, steps aside, and lets you in. You walk to the central altar. Place the scroll down, bow. She doesn't ask your name, doesn't thank you, just begins to hum. You sit on the floor and watch. The sun sets outside, turning the lake into a bowl of molten gold. You wonder what the scroll means, who it's for, why it had to be blessed with llama blood. Because yes, that was the liquid, wasn't it? But you ask nothing. Some runs are for understanding. This one was for obedience. You sleep in the temple that night, and in your dreams you see the map again. Only this time, the sun at the center is watching you back. Morning breaks, like it's sneaking in on tiptoe. The lake is still, cloaked in mist, the reflection of the cliffs above blurring into watercolor shadows on the water's surface. You wake on a reed mat, every joint protesting like you've aged 50 years overnight. You don't remember falling asleep. The last thing you recall is the hum from the temple's altar, vibrating through the stone like a distant drum. There's no scroll now. The altar is empty. The priestess is gone. And in her place, at the foot of your mat, sits a small gold token. A flat disc, no wider than your thumb, stamped with the stylized figure of a maize stalk and wrapped in dyed cloth. You know what this is. It's a diplomatic gift. The kind of object you only carry when you're walking a razor's edge between tribute and threat. You've heard of these. They're sent to rival tribes on the empire's fringes, half symbol, half bribe. The maize stalk means peace. If it were a jaguar or a spear instead, well, then you'd probably be escorted by guards. You tuck the disc into your pouch and step out into the chill of morning. Your route takes you northwest today, down through a winding canyon carved by centuries of wind and snowmelt, toward a plateau where the Conchis people live. They're independent, fiercely so. Technically part of the empire, but only just. They pay tribute when they feel like it, send runners when it suits them. They're useful, but slippery. You're to deliver the token to one of their elders. The message isn't written, it's the disc itself. Golden maize. We want peace. Wrapped in blue cloth equals we're offering something of value. Red stitch on the corner equals we're watching what you do next. It's a silent conversation, and you're the walking exhale that delivers it. You run hard. The terrain is harsh. Loose gravel, high wind, sudden drops where the trail forgets to mention it was optional. You skid once, almost eat rock, and stop to check your pouch. The token is still there. Warm, somehow. Or maybe that's just the adrenaline. You reach the plateau by midday. It's flat and wide, dotted with low stone dwellings and windbreak walls made of woven grass. A handful of people work the fields, barefoot, eyes sharp, hands quick. They see you long before you arrive. One older man approaches. His face is carved by sun and time. His tunic bears the symbol of the jaguar's tail, a clan marker. You bow and hold out the cloth-wrapped disc. He doesn't take it immediately, just looks at it, then at you. From Cusco? He asks. You nod. Voluntarily? You hesitate. By duty. He snorts. That's not the same. Still, he takes the token. He unwraps it, examines the maze, then, unexpectedly, laughs. Of course, he mutters. They want the salt basin. Again. You don't respond. He waves you toward a nearby boulder. Sit. Eat. A woman brings you a bundle of dried meat and roasted oca root. It's good. You chew slowly while the elder turns the disc over and over in his hand. You know what this means, right? He says. You nod. I was told not to ask questions. He smiles. So I'll talk instead. He tells you a story, how the Conchis once held the basin, full of white crystals that shimmer in the sun like fallen stars, how they gave it up for peace, how that peace was broken when another envoy came with a disc just like this one, only smaller, less gold, less intention. They measure respect by weight, he says. He tosses the disc into the air, catches it. This one's heavier. You don't know if that's good or bad. He tucks the token into his sleeve, then hands you something in return, a bundle of dried reeds tied with purple string. For the return, he says. No pouch needed. You bow. You start back down the trail. Halfway to the ridge, you pause. Something's off. You check your pouch again. Instinct, maybe. But it's empty. You check your sleeve. There's a second token, different. Same gold, but this one is marked with a serpent, not maze. Coiled. Watching. You didn't take this. You didn't see it handed off. But there it is. Tucked deep. You turn it in your fingers. It feels cold. This isn't a diplomatic gift. This is a warning. You leave it where it is. For now. The wind picks up. You hear a sound behind you. Turn. But there's nothing. Just the trail. The plateau in the distance. The same silence that's followed you since the blood scroll. You run harder. By the time you reach the tambo at the ridge's base, you're soaked with sweat and your hands are shaking. You hand off the reed bundle to the keeper. He opens it. Inside, salt. Crushed. Fine. Almost powder. He nods. Says more than any message, he mutters. You sit by the fire, cradling a bowl of soup, and watch the serpent token gleam faintly in the corner of your vision. Some messages are direct. Others come wrapped in gold and secrets. And some find their way into your pouch whether you invite them or not. Something has shifted. You can feel it in the dirt, in the wind, in the way people stop talking when you enter a tambo now. The serpent token stays in your pouch, untouched. You've considered throwing it off a cliff more than once. But part of you wants to see where it leads, or maybe what it draws out. The road ahead curls gently upward. It's not steep, but your legs drag anyway. You pass shepherds with downcast eyes, soldiers who don't return your nod, and tambos with their doors cracked just enough to let you know you're not welcome to linger. The message today is verbal again. No quipu, no scroll, just words. Given to you by a young official back in the valley, his robe too clean, his hands too smooth. Deliver this to the temple keepers of Chopi Yaku, he said. Repeat it exactly. No interpretation. You memorized it in silence. The foreigners draw near the coast. Their beasts leave fireprints. Do not offer shelter. Wait for further signs. You say it again now, under your breath as you run. The foreigners draw near the coast. It doesn't sound like an imperial message. It sounds like a plea. You've heard rumors, everyone has, of strangers from the sea, pale-skinned, shiny armor, bearded faces, riding animals with hooves and eyes like obsidian. They speak in cracked words, laugh too loudly, trade nothing but metal and promises. The Empire doesn't officially acknowledge them yet. But the runners know. They've seen the shadows stretching inland, the way tambos near the coast go quiet, how entire villages skip their scheduled tribute with no explanation. You don't ask questions, you just keep running. The temple of Chaupi Yaku lies beside a sacred spring. It's not grand, just a cluster of carved stones, a pool so clear you can see every pebble at the bottom, and two acolytes who tend it with more seriousness than most generals tend borders. When you arrive, they're already waiting. One of them holds a ceramic bowl. The other holds nothing, not even expression. You deliver the message, word for word. The one with the bowl closes his eyes, dips the bowl into the spring, lets the water spill out over his hands. No response, he says quietly. But we hear it. The other acolyte finally speaks. You may rest, but do not enter the water. You nod, you eat, drink, sit near the fire. The tambo here is unlike the others. Its walls are carved with wave patterns, fish and stars. You realize suddenly that this place isn't just spiritual, it's a listening post, a place meant to watch the ocean, even though the sea is a full day's run away. You lie down that night, sleep drifting in slow waves, but something wakes you, a sound, like footsteps on wet stone. You sit up. The acolytes are gone. The fire is out. The moonlight reflects off the spring, and on its surface, a symbol has formed. A spiral, of course, but this one is made of ashes. You don't remember seeing anything burn. You walk to the edge of the water. It's perfectly still. Then, just for a moment, you see a reflection in the pool that isn't yours. A man, clad in metal, eyes wide, mouth open in awe or horror, then gone. You stumble back. The serpent token burns in your pouch. You leave before dawn. You don't run. Not at first, you just walk. Slowly, trying to make sense of what you saw, or if you saw it at all. You reach the next tambo by late morning. The keeper there is older, stern. He doesn't greet you, just points to the basin for water. When he finally speaks, it's low, careful. Runner, do you know what they say the metal men seek? You shake your head. They don't want land, not yet. They want stories. You frown. Stories. Legends, myths, gold, yes, but also names, maps, secrets, things whispered under breath or hidden in stone. You sip your water. He continues. The spiral shows up more. You've seen it. You nod. He taps the side of his own head. They're following it too. They don't know what it means, but they're chasing it. That night, you dream of waves swallowing roads, of shells that sing, of voices speaking languages no one's taught yet, but somehow you understand. And in the center of it all, the spiral spins, always spinning, not inward this time, outward. The road is no longer just a road. It's a thread pulled taut, vibrating with something you can't name. Not just footsteps anymore, not just stone and sweat, but a feeling like the Empire itself is holding its breath, waiting to see which stitch unravels first. You're running east now, toward the rim of the Empire. You're carrying a message that shouldn't need to be sent, because it's the kind of message whispered behind cupped hands, never committed to cord or cloth. This one? It's spoken. One sentence. Burned into your memory like sunlight into skin. Cut the quipu if the shadow crosses the line. That's it. No explanation. No names. Just an order designed to be understood by the kind of person who's lived long enough to fear metaphor. You're running it to an outpost where the last senior quipu Kamayuk lives in semi-retirement. A master of the knots. A historian in strings. A quiet man whose job was once to read the Empire's memory. And now you're carrying what may be the signal to delete a part of it. The trail cuts across a high, narrow ridge. To your left, a deep valley filled with fog. To your right, nothing but sky. It's beautiful, breathtaking, which is inconvenient because you're not here to sightsee. The wind is strong. You pull your cloak tighter and press on. After hours, you arrive at the outpost, a cluster of low buildings carved into the mountain's edge like stubborn thoughts. There's no guard, no smoke, just a single line of black string stretched across the doorway. A message line, not common anymore. But older runners still remember, if the string is unbroken, the place is safe. You lift it, duck beneath, and enter. The Kamayuk is waiting. He's older than you expected. Bones wrapped in leather, hands like bird claws, eyes like river stones, unmoving but not blind. He gestures for you to sit. You do. Then you speak. You say the sentence, slowly, clearly. He doesn't flinch, just leans back. He pulls a pouch from his belt and spills out a quipu, thick, tangled, massive. Not a message, a record. You recognize some of the knots, dates, names, places, disappearances, the memory of a province. He runs his fingers across it, slowly, with reverence, like a priest reading prayers from the thread. Then he takes a knife. You tense, but he doesn't cut it. Not yet. He looks at you. You've seen the spiral? He asks. You nod. The empty tambos? You nod again. The bird people? The flame-hooved strangers? You hesitate, then nod a third time. He sighs. This is the line, he says. You don't ask which line. He places the knife next to the quipu, then presses a small black stone into your hand. Take this, he says. If the next message says the shadow crossed, bring it back. And if it hasn't, you ask. He smiles faintly. Then leave it at the edge of the empire. You sleep in the outpost. Restless, the wind whistles through cracks in the stone. The quipu lies on the table beside you like a sleeping animal. You dream of threads that bleed when cut, of names unraveling into nothing, of maps that fold in on themselves. When you wake, the Kamayuk is gone, but the quipu remains, uncut, waiting. You take the stone and tuck it next to the serpent token. Your pouch is starting to feel less like a mailbag and more like a vault of increasingly cursed souvenirs. You head north. The terrain is unfamiliar, steeper, wilder. You stop at a tambo around midday. A young woman tends the fire. She sees the look on your face and doesn't ask questions, just gives you a hot stone to hold, something to center your breath. Before you leave, she presses something into your hand, a broken knot, threaded onto a piece of reed. What's this? You ask. Someone cut a message before it was finished, she says. Didn't want it read. Thought you might be looking for pieces like that. You stare at it. The cord is frayed, the knot incomplete. It matches one from the Kamayuk's quipu. You run faster. By nightfall, you reach a viewpoint overlooking the eastern lowlands. The sky is burning pink. The rivers below shimmer like veins. You sit, take out the black stone, and hold it against the broken knot. No reaction, no warmth, but something shifts in your chest. A feeling like something is waiting for you to make the next move. You don't. Not yet. Because you're starting to wonder. What happens if you become the message? What happens when the road leads nowhere except back to yourself? You're given no message this time. No scroll, no token, no whispered phrase. Just a look from the tambo keeper at dawn and a pouch pressed into your hand. It's sealed shut. No markings, no color thread, just the weight. You feel it immediately. It's heavier than any pouch its size has a right to be. Heavier than gold. Heavier than blood. Heavier than a secret trying not to be told. This one goes east, the keeper says softly. To the old stronghold. Not by the main road. Not if you want to finish the job. You ask no questions. But you know what this is. It's a last message. The kind they send when they know the answer won't matter, because by the time it arrives, the game's already over. You take the hidden path, marked only by a cairn of 3 stones and a feather stuck upright in the dirt. The trail climbs slowly, then drops into a narrow gully, where the wind barely touches you, and the sun only visits for a few hours a day. You pass a llama skeleton, half buried in moss, A broken sandal, child-sized. A woven sash, shredded and caught on a thorn bush. The road is no longer speaking in symbols. It's screaming. By late morning, the forest begins to thin. The mountains behind you seem impossibly far, like another life. Before you, the old stronghold, built of dark stone, sloped walls, and wide watchtowers that haven't seen a banner in years. There's no one at the gates, no guards, no chaskies, just echoes. You step inside, sandals quiet against the stone. The plaza is littered with broken quipas, shredded cords, frayed knots, tangled into useless nests, some burned, some buried halfway in the earth. At the far end, a runner sits slumped against the wall. Still, you approach slowly. He's young, too young. A sash across his chest marks him as a capital courier, one of the elite. His pouch lies open on the ground beside him, empty. His eyes are open, but there's no one behind them. You close them gently. Then you sit. You don't open your pouch. Not yet. Instead, you breathe. Try to piece together what this place is trying to say. It's not abandonment, not war. It's something else. A choice, maybe. A silence louder than orders. You open your pouch. Inside, a small ceramic tablet painted in red and black. On it, a single spiral, unraveling at the edges, cracked. Beneath it, in tiny, perfect script. If this arrives, do not answer. Scatter the trail. You stare at it. This isn't a message. It's a surrender. You turn it over. On the back, a name, one you recognize. A general, loyal to the Sapa Inca, fierce, strategic, long believed dead in a border skirmish. You remember hearing stories, how his body was never recovered, how his region fell silent soon after, how his runners never returned. But this is his handwriting. You're holding his last message, and it says, "Burn the road behind you." You sit in the shade of the broken tower, unsure what to do next. If you deliver this message, the Empire will know. The capital will act. But if you don't, you hear something. A cough. Behind you, from the shadows. You spin. A man steps out. Not young, not old, wounded. A makeshift sling on one arm, hair bound in a warrior's braid. "I didn't think it would come," he says. Voice rough. You blink. "The message?" "No," he says, walking slowly towards you. "You." He sits across from you, nods at the tablet. "You can take it back if you want," he says. "But they already know. That's why they sent you, just to see if we'd answer." You hold the tablet up. "What does scatter the trail mean?" He looks at the mountain behind you, then at the broken quipus. "It means," he says, "the runners finish the story now." He tosses you a small sack. Inside are 6 black stones, polished, etched with marks too small to read without firelight. "Place them on the old trail," he says, "each at a crossroad, each at a tambo that doesn't answer anymore." And then, he shrugs. "They'll think the road's broken, or gone, or cursed." You hesitate, then ask, "Why me?" He smiles, slow and tired. "Because you still ask." You leave the stronghold before sunset, pouch heavy again, not with orders, not with war, but with a chance to rewrite the road itself. And this time the message is yours. The stones are heavier than they should be, 6 of them, smooth, black, inscribed with markings you haven't dared to read aloud, not that you could even if you tried. The characters don't belong to Quipu logic or any temple scribe's alphabet. They hum with something else, something quieter, more permanent. You carry them now, tucked into your sash like seeds, each one meant to be planted not in soil, but in memory. You're not following a message anymore. You're dispersing one. The trail winds north, twisting through scrub and shale, skirting the empty tambos that have grown like scars across your internal map. These are the places that stopped replying, the ones that lost the thread. The first tambo is a shell. Stone walls half standing, roof long gone, moss growing where people once cooked, slept, argued about trail assignments. You don't go inside. Instead, You stand at the threshold and take out one stone. You place it beneath the main doorway, not hidden, not announced, just there, as if it had always been. Then you keep walking. No one sees you, which is good, because if they did, you're not sure what you'd say. The second site is deeper in. You reach it by nightfall. It's one of the relay tambos, built more for speed than shelter. Low stone benches, small signal tower, soot still staining the hearthstone. You find a half-burned quipu hanging from a peg, just dangling there, unreadable, like a severed sentence. You bury the second stone beneath it. No prayer, no ritual, just the quiet recognition of something that used to be. The wind picks up, but it doesn't howl. It sighs, like it remembers too. The third is harder. It's a fork in the trail, where 3 roads once met. Only now, 2 of them are choked with fallen branches, rock slides, and disuse. The third still shows faint footprints. But here's the thing, no tambo, just a flat boulder with an old carving near the edge. A spiral, worn nearly smooth. You place the stone in the center of that spiral and step back, and for a moment, the silence feels deeper, like you unplugged something. Not in a bad way, in a freeing way. Historians won't write about this. There won't be entries in temple archives or speeches in the capital. But one day, a runner will reach this fork and feel something shift in their bones. And they'll turn back, not knowing why. Just knowing. You camp under the stars that night, body curled around your pouch, stones rattling softly like tiny ghosts. You dream of trails winding into the sky, of tambos with no walls, just doors standing in the middle of fields, of people walking backward, following messages they never received. When you wake, dew has gathered on your lips, and a hawk circles overhead. You take it as a sign and move on. The fourth tambo is nearly invisible. It's been overtaken by earth, swallowed by vines and trees, claimed by roots. You clear a space just enough to find the edge of the foundation. You leave a stone at its heart. Then, without thinking, you whisper, "You're not forgotten." Your own voice startles you, but the forest listens, and it doesn't laugh. The fifth tambo is gone, not abandoned, gone. Just a patch of scorched land, blackened, glassy in places. Something burned here hotter than firewood. You find part of a cooking pot, a sandal strap. Nothing else. You place the stone in the center of the clearing. No spiral, no altar, just ash. The sixth one, that's the hard part, because the sixth isn't a tambo. It's a person. You find her sitting on a rock near the trail's end, as if she knew you'd come. She's older, calm, wearing the red sash of a capital scribe. A heavy necklace made of broken quipu cords wraps around her throat. She nods as you approach. "You're the one scattering the trail," she says. Not a question. You nod. She reaches into her pouch and produces the final stone. It's the same size, same shape, but this one glows faintly in the dark. "Yours broke," she says. "They always do near the end." She hands it to you. Your fingers close around it, and you know what to do. You place it between you, on the ground. She nods once, then stands and walks away. No goodbye, no message. You watch her disappear down the opposite path. And when you look back at the stone, it's gone. In its place, a faint scorch mark, spiral-shaped. You exhale. The trail is scattered now. No one will follow this route again. Not unless they know what they're looking for. And even then, they won't find you. Because now, you're off the map. Exactly where you need to be. You're off route now. No more tambos, no stone-paved trails, just narrow deer paths, water-slick boulders, and a sky that feels farther away than usual. You move like a shadow. You breathe like someone being hunted by silence. The pouch on your hip is empty now. No messages, no scrolls, no quipus. But your mind is full. Everything is loud inside. The spiral, the flame-hooved strangers, the vanished tambos, the order to scatter the road, the missing name on the last message. It all swirls in your chest like a storm looking for a place to break. You sleep in caves now, or under trees that lean just right. No fire, no signal stones, no greetings, and yet, you're not alone. Because the road still follows you. Even here, you pass places where it used to be, just a faint line through the grass, or a row of stones too evenly spaced to be natural. You recognize the bones of the trail beneath the earth, and it recognizes you. One morning, you find a sandal placed at the center of a dry stream bed, worn. Yours? Number too small, too clean. Inside it, a reed token, twisted into a knot you've never seen before, but you understand it. It means, we remember. Someone is still watching, or waiting, or walking behind you. You tuck the sandal into your sash, not because it's useful, because it's proof. You continue west, toward the last place that matters, the place where the empire once began. Not Cusco. Older, more silent. You reach it at dusk, just a circle of stones half swallowed by grass, a cracked sundial, the broken foundation of what may have been a temple, or a home, or both. This is where the first runners were trained, where the path began, not the road, but the idea of it. You sit in the center of the circle, and you wait. For what, you're not sure. But then someone steps out from behind a fallen wall, a runner, face shadowed. Their sash is old, frayed, faded, but the symbol on it is clear. A maize stalk wrapped in gold. You've seen it before, in the diplomatic disc, on the burned temple walls, in the scroll soaked with llama blood. They sit across from you and speak. Did you carry the silence? You nod. Did you scatter the thread? Yes. Then now, they say, reaching into their own pouch, you carry this. They hand you a small object. It's not a message. It's a shell, white, smooth, spiraled so tightly it seems to fold into itself forever. You recognize it. From the jungle, from the first feather delivery, from the tambo that vanished. The shell is the last symbol, the first symbol too. You close your hand around it. It's warm, alive. They continue. This isn't for delivery. It's not a message. It's not an object. You raise your eyebrows. Then what is it? It's a memory, they say. One the road asked you to keep. You understand? You've been a runner all your life. Your legs have belonged to the empire, your lungs to the message. But the shell? This is yours. The other runner stands. No more trails now, they say. Only echoes. They vanish without a sound. You remain, shell in hand, no pouch, no orders, just one last trail, the one beneath the road. You walk until the stars come out, and when you look up, you notice they're forming a shape you've seen again and again. Spiral, of course. But this one isn't unraveling, it's tightening, pulling in, drawing the whole sky towards some final point. You don't know where it leads, but you follow anyway. Because that's what runners do, even when the trail is made of stars. The stars blink quietly overhead, scattered like dust across a sheet of obsidian. You walk beneath them, one foot in front of the other, not because you're chasing a message anymore, but because walking is what you've become. You're not a chasqui. You are the trail now. Your sandals are threadbare, your cloak has faded, your pouch is empty except for the shell, the final wordless reminder that some things are carried not between places, but between people. You don't know where you're going, but that's never stopped you. Eventually, you come to a ridge. It overlooks a valley you've never seen, lush, mist-covered, humming with nightbirds and unfamiliar wind. There are no tambos here, no flags, no signals, but as you scan the valley, your eyes catch something strange. A road. Not an imperial one, no stones, no carvings, just a faint path of trampled grass, bending toward the horizon in gentle, curved arcs, and on it, footprints, fresh. You follow them. They lead into the valley, then curve along a stream, across a shallow ford. through a grove of thick-stalked maize. You reach a clearing. In it stands a single pillar, about your height, made of smooth, light stone you can't identify. No inscriptions, no decoration, just a smooth groove along the top. You know what it's waiting for. You reach into your pouch and withdraw the shell. You place it in the groove. Nothing happens. And then, everything does. The air shifts, just slightly. The wind stills. The insects pause. And in the silence you hear steps. Dozens. Then hundreds. Not coming toward you. Not behind you. All around you. You're surrounded by echoes. Every runner who carried something they didn't understand. Every whisper passed hand to hand. Every pouch soaked in rain, in blood, in purpose. They're here now. Not in body, in pattern. And you're part of it. You feel it. The roads didn't begin in Cusco. They didn't end in conquest. They didn't die with the temples or fade with the last quipu. They're alive. In the way people carry each other. In the trust that something handed off with care still matters. In you. You kneel at the base of the pillar. You press your forehead to the dirt. Not in surrender, in acknowledgement. You've scattered the message, not to erase it, but to keep it moving. And as the first light of morning brushes the tops of the trees, you hear a voice. Not loud, not commanding, just known. It says, "Good, now go back." You smile, because you understand now. You're not done. You're never done. You stand, turn, and take the first step on the road back, not to a place, but to another message, another runner, another spiral. Because as long as the world spins, someone will always need to carry the next word. And you'll always be ready. Your feet slow now. The dirt trail softens beneath your soles, giving way to the hush of grass and dew. You've come far, across cliffs, through jungle heat, past broken tambos and ghost-still plazas. You've climbed where only wind remembers the names, and stood where silence once spoke louder than any scroll. Let it all fade now. The fires you sat beside, the weight of pouches across your chest, the sting of coca leaves on your tongue. You're safe now. You've done the work. You've carried the memory well. Breathe in. Let the cool air fill your lungs long and slow. Feel your heartbeat settle into something quieter, something older, like the rhythm of sandals on a distant path. The empire may be gone, the stones may crumble, but you are still running, still listening, still ready to deliver what needs to be delivered, not in haste, not in fear, but in care, in presence. So, lay back now. The road will wait until morning. Let your thoughts drift like mist over the highland peaks. Let your breath be the only sound. Let your body sink into the mat, or the bed, or the world beneath you. Because the trail, your trail, is always there. And when you wake, it will be ready for you. One step at a time, always forward, always gentle, always true. Sweet dreams.